What's up, you guys? It's Graham here, and I hope you're ready for what just happened. As of a few hours ago, the Federal Reserve once again cut interest rates for the third time this year. Except this time, okay, no, in all seriousness, this one is a lot different because for the first time ever, the Federal Reserve lowered interest rates without any inflation data whatsoever. The October jobs report was completely canceled due to the government shutdown. And as a result, the US central bank is now on a path of blindly printing a lot of money at the same time that Japan's entire economy is on the brink of catastrophe. That's why we gotta talk about exactly what just happened, what the Federal Reserve just said, how Japan is about to have a pretty severe impact on what's gonna happen in the United States, and then finally, how you could use this information to come out ahead profitable. Because I will say, this could either be the greatest wealth transfer we've ever seen, or it could be the moment that a lot of people completely get wiped out. Although before we start, as usual, if you appreciate breaking news videos like this, it would mean the world to me if you hit the like button or subscribed if you haven't done that already. That's all I ask. It helps with the channel tremendously, and as a thank you for doing that, here's a video of Bailey getting a treat. So thanks so much, and also a big thank you to the Gemini credit card for sponsoring this video, but more on that later. All right, so in terms of what's going on in the markets, let's first talk about a topic that almost no one realizes is happening right now and will continue throughout the rest of the year, and that's what's known as the Japanese carry trade. Look, even though this sounds like a complicated term, it's really easy to understand once we break it down. See, for more than 30 years, the Japanese yen has declined. In fact, their financial system was so bad with decades of deflation, an aging population, and weak demand that their interest rates have remained near historic lows just to incentivize borrowing, spending, and trade. And they could get away with that up until recently because their inflation rate was pretty much non-existent. Now, in most cases, this isn't that big of a deal, and globally, interest rates do tend to balance each other out. But a few years ago, something changed. Because the United States battled with record high inflation from 2021 to 3, the Federal Reserve was forced to raise interest rates at their fastest pace ever in history. And all of a sudden, the United States was paying much more in interest than practically every other country, risk-free because we could always just print more money. This presented a very unique opportunity where traders were able to borrow the yen at a cheap interest rate, buy the US Treasuries at a much higher interest rate, and profit the difference. Basically, this was the equivalent of borrowing at 0.5% in Japan, buying a treasury in the US that pays 5.5%, and then making 5% for doing practically nothing. All of this works really well until one day it doesn't, and that's what brings us to today. Over the last few months, Japan has begun the process of issuing stimulus to boost their economy. The interest rates in Japan have quickly been rising, and this means all the free money that Japan used to give away is now beginning to charge interest. So what do people do? That's right, they cash out of US dollars, they sell out of stocks, they get rid of their cryptocurrency, and all of that money flows out of the United States to pay off rising Japanese debt, which is a short-term negative for the markets. So what does this mean for stock prices? Well, oddly enough, here's where things get really interesting. Even though the Federal Reserve has been cutting interest rates and the stock market is constantly approaching all-time highs, historically, the Federal Reserve does not cut interest rates unless they absolutely need to. Like, it's not as though they say, hey guys, so we need to get the S&P 500 to 7,000 this year, and here's a rate cut to speed things up. Instead, they drop interest rates in anticipation of events that could be disastrous for the economy, almost as a way to help soften the blow. And this has been the case for the last 3 recessions. In 2001, they cut interest rates at the start of the dot-com bubble. In 2009, they dropped interest rates during the financial crisis. And in 2020, they dropped interest rates before everything shut down. In these situations, the market drop was not due to the rate cuts themselves, but rather the events that led to the rate cuts in the first place. So with more rate cuts planned throughout 2026, does this mean we're doomed? Well, not quite. As you could see, after enough time, there have been plenty of occurrences where the market eventually begins to recover, some of which produce rather substantial returns. But you just have to be patient. As of now, our markets have been fairly resilient, mainly boosted up by AI and a lot of consumer spending. Plus, drops like we've seen are actually pretty normal. Like, on average, a 10% correction happens every 16 months, and throughout the last 20 years, a 10% drop has happened more than 11 times. Then if you're like me and you like the averages, the average drop has so far been about 15.6% and lasts for 71.6 days. So even though every situation is unique, price drops are not. But what about Bitcoin? Believe it or not, this is the first time ever that gold is going to be very positive for the year, while Bitcoin is positioned for a loss. And even though it might seem like Peter Schiff was right and Bitcoin is broken, historically, what we're seeing is actually incredibly normal. For instance, over the last 15 years, there have been 6 occurrences where Bitcoin has fallen at least 50 to 80% from its peak. And year over year, it's not exactly uncommon for Bitcoin to drop anywhere from 30 to 70%. So on the surface, what we're seeing today is not unusual. Now, in terms of what's causing this, it appears as though we have the perfect storm all happening at the same time. Like, right now, there is a lot of leverage in the system, so that when the price falls, traders get liquidated, which causes the price to fall even further. So what caused the initial fall? Well, there was certainly some profit taking. Higher treasury yields meant that buyers could cash out and collect higher returns elsewhere, and with less liquidity in the markets, there were fewer buyers out there to buy the dip. So is now a good time to buy? Well, statistically, according to every prior Bitcoin drop, Bitcoin tends to have a median fall of 50%, and more recently, since 2017, the median decline mellowed out to more like 40%. On top of that, it was also found that so far, Bitcoin has never fallen below its electrical cost, which today is approximately $71,000. So yeah, now could actually be a pretty good entry point, even though it could certainly fall farther. So in terms of what the Federal Reserve just said, and what I'm doing about all of this, especially throughout 2026, you're going to want to hear this. First of all, when it comes to Bitcoin, my own take is that whether or not it goes up or down in price really doesn't matter. I just have a long-term approach, I buy and hold on a regular basis, and that's it. Plus, Morgan Stanley even advocated for holding 4% in a portfolio as a way to boost returns. They even said it was best to buy Bitcoin every quarter. That's why if you want to gain a little exposure to Bitcoin without having to time the market or buy it yourself, then our sponsor, the Gemini credit card, could help you do exactly that. Because with this, you get to earn cryptocurrency back on every single purchase. No joke, you're able to earn up to 4% back on transportation, 3% back on dining, 2% on groceries, and 1% on everything else with no annual fee. Plus, Bitcoin earned and held in the Gemini credit card is actually appreciated 279% on average. This means it could automatically earn Bitcoin anytime I fill up the gas tank, go and buy groceries, order at a restaurant. It just becomes second nature at this point, and I'm investing without even thinking about it. Plus, this card comes in 6 unique stainless steel colors. You can get black, silver, rose gold, Bitcoin orange, XRP, or the brand new Solana edition. Like I said, all you gotta do is swipe your card normally, and that's it. And if Bitcoin isn't your thing, you could also select from more than 50 other cryptocurrencies that you could switch to at any time. Feel free to check out the description, by the way, for more information on rates and fees, and see if you're eligible with no impact to your credit score. So if you'd like to instantly earn Bitcoin or select for more than 50 other options, feel free to head to gemini.com/Graham or use the link down below in the description to sign up today. Plus, as a special bonus, you could get $200 worth of Bitcoin when you spend $3,000 in the first 90 days. Again, that link is down below or at gemini.com/Graham. Thanks so much, and now let's get back to the video. All right, so in terms of what the Federal Reserve just said and what this means for you, there is one more topic that's first worth discussing, and that would be home prices. Now, for those unaware, this is a topic that hits very close to home. Pun intended on that, by the way, because I just sold one of my properties in Los Angeles, and from my own experience, there's a ton of buyer demand out there if you just price it aggressively. For instance, I spent over a month fixing it up. I got the home staged, I priced it under market value, and within a few days, we had multiple offers all over asking. But for anyone else who doesn't put in a lot of the time up front, this headline actually sums it up pretty perfectly, and that would be, buyers are cashing in on price cuts. Just from what I've seen, you have a lot of sellers who have refinanced into 3% mortgages who put their home on the market for some ridiculous price, knowing that, hey, if you get it, great, and if not, they can afford to wait. So they do that, and then their home just sits on the market. Nothing happens, and then they either take it off the market when no one buys it, or they chase the market down with price cuts. That's why it's just recently said that the typical US listing saw $25,000 in cumulative price cuts in October, matching the largest discounts Zillow has ever recorded. Now, even though this might sound like great news for buyers, the reality is the housing market is really split in the middle between those who bought pre-2022 and those who bought after 2022. One of them tends to be a lot more realistic about what they could get for their home, while the other could afford to wait and be patient to see what happens. Now, for that second category, their homes are usually never worth their asking price to begin with, so it is no wonder why we see so many price reductions throughout the market. Honestly, it's probably just a better indicator instead to look at the median sales price, which is currently showing a 7% decline from peak. To me, that's just a lot more realistic in terms of the discount you could expect in today's market. However, as a counterpoint to this, even though sales prices have been declining, Redfin actually believes that home prices could go even higher throughout 2026, all boosted by lower mortgage rates and higher incomes. So basically anything can happen. Although in terms of what the Federal Reserve just said and what you could do about all this information, here's what you came for. Like I mentioned earlier, as of a few hours ago, the Federal Reserve once again decided to lower interest rates by 25 basis points. Except this time, they've ended one of the biggest boogeymans of investing, and that would be quantitative tightening. Now, if that sounds confusing, just think of it like this. Throughout 2020 and 2021, the Federal Reserve agreed to buy endless amounts of corporate bonds and mortgage-backed securities as a way to stimulate lending throughout the economy. See, prior to then, any time a company or a bank needed to raise money, they would rely on institutional investors to bid those securities up to an amount that they were willing to risk. But when everything shut down, the Federal Reserve stepped in to backstop those investors and buy up anything that was offered as proof that they're never going to let the market completely collapse. Now, obviously, that strategy worked and the markets recovered, but the Federal Reserve is not in the business of creating an investment portfolio the size of Wall Street bets. So in 2022, they decided to start selling, and the market dropped. Now, in this case, most of the selling or quantitative tightening was simply them getting paid back from their loans and then not investing the proceeds, thereby just reducing liquidity in the market. But now that time has officially ended, leaving the door open for now potentially a lot more money printing. Beyond that, though, today was also the day that they released what's called their Summary of Economic Projections, which basically predicts where they expect the economy to move over the next few years. And in terms of what they said, it looks as though they only plan to reduce interest rates slightly in 2026, because they think unemployment is not going to be as bad as expected. They anticipate inflation to decline all the way down to 2% by 2027. And in the big picture, they hope GDP remains relatively unchanged. In addition to that, they also revealed that they're going to be purchasing $40 billion over the next 30 days of U.S. Treasuries to help stabilize the market. But in terms of what all of this means, here's the gist of it. As of today, they're signaling that they only plan to reduce interest rates one time in 2026 by 25 basis points. That's it, because in their view, employment is a lot stronger than expected and the overall economy is doing fairly well, even though they're going to be monitoring the data, and this could change at any time. In terms of my overall thoughts, though, to me this reiterates that 2026 is going to be just as crazy as 2025. I mean, it's clear they're doing everything they can to help the economy. If they need to inject more money, they will, and the general consensus seems to be lower rates because liquidity is drying up, people are scaling back, and AI might be coming for everybody's jobs. That's why I think it's probably best that we just stick with the fundamentals that we know work, which is simply to keep an emergency fund, hold a steady income, invest consistently, and don't let short-term price movements deter you. At the end of the day, though, we also have to be honest. What happened today wasn't just another rate cut. This was the moment that the Federal Reserve crossed a line that we've never crossed before, which is cutting interest rates with no inflation data, ending quantitative tightening, and injecting money into an economy that we weren't able to even measure because the government was shut down. This could usually be the environment where a lot of mistakes get made, but it could also be the environment where fortunes are built. It's really apparent to me that things are just changing faster than the data is able to keep up. And I think this is just the very beginning, especially if you hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done that already. Thank you again for watching this video. Make sure to leave a comment down below because I'm at my computer right now answering comments. So if that sounds fun, leave a comment. Thank you so much, and until next time.